And today we're sitting with David Weber, candidate for Fuilton Mayor 2019. Dave, thanks for coming down and talking to us. Why don't you start off a little bit of tell us about who you are, where you're from, education and stuff like that.
Well, I'm born and raised in Fuilton. I'm a Fuiltonian. I went to school here, played sports here, moved around with jobs and stuff like that, but I've been back in Fuilton for 22 years. So this is my city, and that's one of the big reasons why I chose to run when I found out that Mayor Woodward was not going to seek re-election. Okay, I graduated from Syracuse University with a Bachelor of Science degree in management. I did a little bit differently. I stayed on campus the first year, but my parents made it pretty obvious, especially my father, that they could not afford tuition and room and board at Syracuse. So my choice was quit, which I do not quit, ever. And they found that out. Or you'll have to get a part-time job, get your classes in the morning, come back around noon or so, have some lunch, and get a part-time job in the afternoons. And you'll have to do that to finish your school there if that's what you want to do. And I said, okay. I think my father was disappointed because he was hoping to save the money, but but I did.
I don't think he's disappointed that you finished off, though.
Well, at any rate, I did it, and it wasn't easy because those are the days before 481, so I drove Route 49 to Central Square and got an 81 in the winter, spring, and fall, not in the summer. So it was a challenge, but classes, I got 8 o'clock classes every morning. Was out by noon, got home, had some lunch, got a job in the afternoon from 1 to 5 at a finance company, believe it or not. Started out doing income taxes for the customers and then worked right into helping out with different things. And I stuck with them all 3 years, part-time during the school year, full-time in the summer. When I got done with college, they offered me a full-time job on an accelerated training program to become a manager. My accounting was my major. I didn't really have the best of grades to be considered for one of these, top accounting firms. So I did get an offer with some company in New York City. They were going to pay me $10,000 a year. I said, well, it's like making 5 up here, so I guess I'll stick with what they're going to give me. I started working full time. I graduated on a Saturday, started on Monday. I was with that company for 32 years. Another company bought them out. They're a rival of ours. They bought them out. I lasted 6 years with that company. They did not treat their employees and their customers the way I liked it. I didn't like them. And so, and then I saw the handwriting on the wall. They started coming up with these crazy policies. And I wouldn't follow some of them because they weren't good for my customers. So I decided, okay, I'm going to get out when I can. I took my early lump sum retirement, which I was able to do. I had all my points and everything. I retired in March of 2004. A few months later, I took a job with another finance company. It was much like the original one, and it was great to work for them. HSBC then bought this other company, and within a year, they closed every single branch internationally with 1 week's notice and no severance paid to all the employees. So I made the move at the right time. Finally retired for good in May of 2010. My boss said, "You're too young to retire." I said, "No, I'm too young not to retire." I have things I want to do.
Right.
And volunteering in my community is what I wanted to do. I was a pretty good baseball player in high school, almost made the SU baseball team, actually. And so I said, I really would like to give back to the kids at Fuilton and coach baseball.
Okay.
So I started out doing that. And before I knew it, I was vice president of the league, in charge of all baseball operations. We had 18 baseball teams last year, so do the math, that's about 180 or 190 kids.
Mm-hmm.
The parents have been very supportive. I teach the kids a little more than just baseball. I teach them life lessons. Respect themselves, respect the game, respect others. Don't go out the field without your shirt tucked in. That kind of thing.
Please.
So it's more than just, you teach your coaches baseball, big deal.
Right.
And I think I earned a lot of respect from a lot of parents, a lot of other coaches, and I still do that to this day. And my wife runs a concession stand. Team leaders. with the Red Cross, we respond to all local disasters for Oswego County, fires, flooding, tree falling on a home, whatever, where the people are displaced from the home. And we take care of them, and we do all of Oswego County, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we love that. It's very rewarding, tiring, but very rewarding. We also do get deployed nationally for other things like hurricanes. And Hurricane Sandy in New York City in 2012-13, we went 4 times for 60 days down there.
Wow.
We met a lot of great people, both with the Red Cross and the clients. We did a lot of different duties. We enjoyed it thoroughly. We've been down to New York City several times since. Last year I was in North Carolina for 2 weeks for Hurricane Florence. Came back 2 or 3 weeks later, Hurricane Michael at Florida. My wife went down for 2 weeks. So this is what we do. And she probably will be going down to North Carolina next week sometime.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah. I'll be here busy trying to finish off the campaign. Okay. So.
Well, that kind of puts in perspective your background and some qualifications that I think that you're kind of saying that you bring to this. Mm-hmm. Why you feel you should be the next mayor of Fuilton. Tell me what your positions are and why what really got you to run.
Well, first I went around to get my petition signatures, and almost every person I spoke to said, we need somebody to do something about the drugs and the crime. That was the number one issue in most people's minds. Not to mention, we need business. Fuilton has actually had some good things happening lately, mm-hmm. which is good. And of course, that downtown revitalization initiative of $10 million, that grant, is huge. Yeah. But I just felt that with my background, my ability to problem solve, think outside the box, think on my feet, 38 years of managing a business, we need to run this city more like a business. And I think out of the 4 candidates, I've got the most qualifications to do that, the best qualifications to do that. Whether it be as a volunteer or as somebody who's coaching Little League or taking care of people and helping them out in the worst day of their lives, arguably, and they get to look at me, poor things. But, but it is what it is, and my wife and I both love it. And I'll try to continue with both as much as I can if I'm mayor. Obviously, I'm also going to be a full-time mayor, mm-hmm. not part-time, not giving my time to anything else. I'm going to be a full-time mayor. Sure. So as far as my plans, I'll tell you what, drugs and crime. The biggest obstacles for us in fighting drugs is legislature, believe it or not. New York, obviously, the state legislature is all Democrat, Assembly and the Senate. Yeah. The governor's a Democrat. So their policies and laws are quite liberal. So they take care of the people who are the offenders instead of the people who they're offending more. So that's a problem. Now, one of the problems surrounding that is the different drugs that are involved, and there's many of them. Sure. The most common one of choice these days is Molly. Now, Molly is made up of several components. It could be anything from bath salts to heroin, to cocaine to PCP, and somewhere in between, any mixture thereof. So as soon as we see somebody using something and they have to test it to make sure it falls under the illegal guide. DEA has made Molly and all of these drugs illegal, but the state of New York has not. So I went to Assemblyman Will Barkley, and he'd already prepared a bill, which I have a copy with me, that takes that description of what is illegal as a drug or an opioid or a synthetic drug in New York and generalizes it so that no matter what combination they use, it's illegal. Now, that's got to be passed. That's the next obstacle. And if I'm mayor, January, I'm going to write letters to the minority and majority leaders in the Assembly and the Senate and to the governor and implore them to please pass that bill. Because there's another bill that's passing in January. And I was talking to the District Attorney Greg Oakes, and he told me that this bill, or this law rather, basically makes the discovery process tougher, just what we need. So the discovery process has to do with what you're using against the defendant when we were going to try it, and what evidence you can use. And if the discovery says, no, you can't use that, then, that makes everything difficult. So, to say the least, law enforcement is totally frustrated. I want to say one other thing about Molly, and I'll move on. The producers and the sellers of this drug market it like it's just like ecstasy. Gives you that feeling of euphoria, a natural high. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Molly, if you're playing with Molly and you become addicted, you are playing Russian roulette with your life.
Right.
It's a very dangerous drug. As heroin and everything else is the same, but I'm telling you, this drug is not what they say it is. So we need to be careful. As far as attacking this problem, I still think we need to go out and we need to try to aggressively pick up people who we know are illegally using drugs. Now, I've gotten some pushback. Oh, you don't care about the addicts, what about the poor people, they need help? I do care about it. Matter of fact, Red Cross, I just took a 90-minute course and got certified to be able to give people Narcan or naloxone who have overdoses to save their lives. Now, if I didn't care about them, I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So I do care about them. But there's about 200 or 300 addicts in the city of Fuilton, give or take, with a population of 12,000. My greater responsibility is to all the other people as well as the addicts. So I want to do what's right by them, but if they keep coming back, I'll give you a statistic that Eric gave me from Farnham Family Services, which is a great place, by the way. He said 4 out of 10 people might seek help, maybe try to get on the program. 3 out of the 4 will fall off and go back to taking drugs and getting addicted. 1 person out of those original 10 may get through the program. So we need to do something about that. What can we do? I think we need to have a place in Fuilton where we can put people, like a hospital, where they can stay there during their detoxification, during their period where they're going to get straight. As outpatients, it's just too easy for them to go back to their familiar surroundings where they started taking drugs to begin with. If we can remove them from that, we'd have a better chance of them getting through, the program and staying with it. So we need, and there's grants out there, I know there are. And that's another thing and I talked to Joe Fremar about this. We met last night at the city council meeting. And I called him today and I said, I know you guys do grants and you've done a lot of grants, but it's mostly they're for homes and stuff, right? And he said, well, yeah. I said, do you think it's a problem if I became mayor and I tried to get a grant writer who could write grants for the city for things like, the addiction problems, a center to open for people to be there, to be taken care of, or anything else like for industry, How about an ADA playground, ADA place for the kids like Oswego did? That was brought up last night, and you know what? Sharps Pond was a place that was brought to mind that we could do that at. And he told me that's a great idea. I'd welcome it, because we do mostly just homes. We do a lot for homeowners. So that is really something, again, these are things that I plan to try to enact, try to get started, as well as if we bring people in, detain them, just for say the night, because the county ordinance says we can do that.
Right.
If we do that, I want to sit down and talk with them, and the officers obviously, and say, look, we don't want to put you in jail. We don't want to incarcerate you. We want you to get straight. We really and truthfully do. But you have got to make the step yourself. And the one thing we want from you, the only thing we want from you, is who is selling you these drugs and where do they live? Because we want them. We don't want you.
Right.
They're the ones destroying our city, not you. It's a disease. You're a victim. We want to help. Let us help. And try that approach. So I'm sure but the law enforcement is getting so frustrated that I think they just, a lady said the other day she called because she saw somebody shooting up a needle out in their lawn by the burned dairy. And the police officer said, I'm sorry, man, there's nothing we can do. That's how frustrated they are.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take that frustration away from them. They need to be more effective. Other things, what else am I going to do? Well,
Well, you have time, don't
well,
you?
yeah. The economy. Now, obviously, the DRI is huge, but I want to make sure that people do understand that the Downtown Revitalization Initiative covers only the Route 481 corridor over to the river, from Nestle's Ave, which is the Nestle site, and down on the end of First Street, all the way down to Oneida Street, and everything in between. It doesn't cover anything else, either on the east side or nothing on the west side.
Right.
So people get a little confused with that, and it just covers that slice of downtown, which is a huge project. And there are so many different plans they've got. They have places that have said they're going to do this, this, and this. Now it's a matter of putting together a team from the city of Fuilton and from the state, putting together a team that will form whatever is going to happen. And it's not a process that's overnight.
Right.
We have to understand that. But I'm not one to be super patient either. Now I'm rather relentless when it comes to getting something done. All right. I like to put a sense of urgency into people, and there are a lot of things we need a sense of urgency about.
Sure.
And the drug problem is one of them. The trash problem in the city. I want to talk briefly about that. You know, that people keep complaining there's trash all over the place. Well, pick it up. I've seen people on websites say, pick it up.
I mean, you're not talking about the city trash people picking up the trash cans out front. You're talking about
Just
litter trash on
yeah.
the place. Okay.
Yeah. So what I've come up with an idea of, let's buy some more trash cans, okay? And put them in strategic places around the city. And then if the city can't afford them, I'll buy them, okay? One at each end of the bridges, obviously, in different places where people can throw trash away if they have it in their hand.
Right.
And to make it even more fun, let's decorate them.
Sure.
CNY Art Center has a great program. I bet you they got kids there who could decorate these trash cans. And we could use the art students at the high school, involve the youth, and let's put caricatures on them, or landscapes, or flowers, or Oscar the Grouch, something like that.
Sure.
And people coming into the city will see these trash cans all over the place, all colorful and everything. When's the last time you smiled at a trash can?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, it at least gets the attention. People may actually put stuff in them just because they're attracted to them.
Sure.
And people coming into our city will say, hey, that's a pretty good idea,
They'll notice them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just something to get the whole community involved, because they should be. I walk my dog every day, and there's pieces of paper and stuff laying around, and I don't walk by it and kick it. I pick it up, and I take it home and throw it out. We just need to be more like that.
Yeah.
And I think most people in Fulton really do feel that way. Pride is the big thing. We need to bring back the pride to Fulton. Fulton has no reason not to be proud at this point. I mean, yeah, there's drugs. There's a lot of drugs everywhere else, too.
Sure.
And we're going to do something about this, okay? And we're going to do something about it. I've already outlined kind of my ideas about that. The state has a lot to do with it. I'll tell you, you're bumping your head against the wall. One other thing we need as far as law enforcement. There are 4 CID officers, detectives,
Mm-hmm.
okay? They have 1 car. 1 car. You can't use a squad car if you're going out as a detective, just to kind of,
Sure.
you don't want people to know who you are. You want to use your own car.
Mm-hmm.
How about we buy them a couple of used vehicles? Can't cost us that much. I keep hearing how we saved $36,000 in utility prices from vendors this year coming up. C.J. Smith, DPW commissioner, sold a whole bunch of equipment and trucks that he couldn't use anymore
Yep.
for $53,000. There's almost $90,000 going into the general budget right there.
Mm-hmm.
City of Fulton just sold 7 properties. They were approved last night at the city council meeting, totaling over $100,000 in money. Now, obviously, it isn't all profit because you had to pay for realtor and taxes. I don't know how much we're doing taxes, but the point is, we got almost $200,000 right there that we can use.
Mm-hmm.
So let's use it smartly. You know, let's use it for what we need. You know, we need another. We need 2 more code officers, code enforcement officers. To be honest with you now, Joe told us for the CDA that they got a grant for $150,000. Some of it will be $60,000 of it to hire 1 code enforcement officer. Fulton needs to hire another. We need 2 more. That'll give us 4. We have 2 now. They can't keep up with all the demands that code enforcement officers have to do. We need to be smart. We got to work smarter, not harder, you know, and take our money and spend it where it needs to be spent. Part of that other that $150,000 is going to go toward other things. I think there's on the west side, Broadway, there's a grant where the businesses on West Broadway can get a part of the grant to, as long as they're going to use it to improve the outside or the inside of their structure.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's important. Now people say, well, what about the rest of Fulton? Like the old Tops building on Route 48. Actually, I've been in touch with the owner on a regular basis. I located him out in Rochester. Nobody knew who he was, except Don Patrick and I. We found him. And I've been talking to him. I just talked to him today. I also talked to Jim Marabito, who used to be in the grocery business. And I talked to him about getting back in. Now, there's Price Chopper, there's all these. Walmart does a tremendous amount of grocery business there. There's 4 major grocery stores for this area, saturated. I said, well, so what I've been trying to do is we're trying to get a Stewart's into that location where Tops was. And the owner is waiting to hear back from him. He's got a calendar till the middle of this month, so another 10 days or so to follow them up. And Burned Dairy would be another good. Even though they got an east side location, the west side would be a good location for them too.
Sure.
So that's something to think about.
Okay.
You know, we've got to be aggressive though. We've got to go after these things, and I've been working on that behind the scenes. You know.
All right.
So that's kind of what I've been doing.
It sounds like you got a pretty busy plan ahead of you.
Well, I do. I just want everybody to know one thing about me. Like I said, I don't give up. My father could tell you that if he was still alive. Other people can tell you that who deal with me either as coaches for the Little League or somebody who's with a Red Cross that they know when I go on these, you know, deployments, I don't stop. You know, it's about the people. It's about the kids. It's about the people who just lost everything in a fire or in a flood or in a hurricane. It's about helping them. For Fulton, it's about the residents. It's about the people. It's not about me. I'm going to take my salary, whatever my salary is, I don't know what it is. I don't care. Okay, to be honest with you. I'm not doing it for money. We'll probably need to hire an administrative assistant because Kathy Trowbridge is going to retire. God bless her, she does a tremendous amount for the city, I'll tell you. So I'm going to ask Human Resources to take $5,000 off my salary to put it toward the salary for the new administrative assistant. So we can attract somebody with good qualifications who will get a decent pay. You know, that's something I'm going to do. The other thing I'm not doing, I'm the only candidate right now, I don't do fundraising. I don't fundraise off the people of Fulton. That's just my choice. That's my personal feeling. It's not nothing wrong with it. It's not unethical or illegal, obviously. But I just didn't think it was right for me. I just didn't feel right doing it.
Okay.
So I'm paying for everything myself. And that doesn't make me a martyr or anything. That just makes me feel better.
It's just who you are.
Yeah, and again, it's not about me.
Right.
See, it's about the people. And I just want everybody else to start thinking the same way. Don't complain. Roll up your sleeves and let's all get together and do this together. You know, if somebody's got something to say to me and they come in the form of a complaint, you better have an idea to fix it with it, or I won't listen. We need constructive criticism. We don't need just criticism.
Right.
Our DPW are hardworking guys. We need to hire a couple more of those too, by the way. I know a lot of them that work there. They're good people. They work hard. CJ is a great administrator. He's the best. The common councilmen, I've gotten to know them pretty well. They care. They care about their wards, you know?
Sure.
And we need to support them. And yes, there's people speeding through the streets, and what are we going to do about it? Well, you know, I want to throw rocks through their windows. I don't know what you want to do. We posted children's playing signs and stuff like that. Get a license plate number, turn it in, and see if something can be done.
Right.
You know, to complain is one thing, but to try to come up with a solution is another.
Right.
We had a block party at my block a couple weekends ago. It was a lot of fun. I met people that were living two or three houses away from me. They were. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Do more of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So I'm all about
All right.
that.
Well, that sounds good. Sounds like you got a lot on your plate.
I do. I got a lot of ideas, and you know, I just want to close by saying, if I'm going to be the mayor, and I was always the type of guy who would never ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do. I took care of two groups of people: my customers, in this case, the residents of the city, and the employees. And if I took care of those two groups of people, the business took care of itself. If I take care of those two groups of people, Fuilton's going to be fine.
Right.
And I look forward to the future.
I wish you luck.
Thank
And
you
thank you
very
for coming
much.
down and sitting with us.
Thank you.
And I look forward to talking to you again on October 3rd, which is when we'll have the Fuilton Mayoral 2019 debates.